One wrong step in any investigation could cost you everything. That is right. It doesn't take much these days to ruin your entire business, your reputation, and put all of your personal assets at risk too. But what if you could foresee these dangers and proactively defend yourself? Well, this video isn't just about avoiding disaster. It's about building a foundation for your PI business to help ensure peace of mind in this ever-growing litigious world we live in. Let's first look at what I refer to as the silent threat. You see, the truth of the matter is that a single misstep, a single mistake, could devastate your entire business. The big mistake I see today that most PIs make is simply having that nonchalant attitude of, it will never happen to me. Having this attitude then puts them in a non-defensive state. They aren't looking for their mistakes or assume that if they make a mistake, they can easily overcome it. Yes, many clients are forgiving to a point. And yes, many clients understand we are human to a point. And yes, many clients will jump at the opportunity to ask for or demand a refund because of our mistakes. And you know what? You have little to protect you these days. Almost all of us take credit and debit card payments. We may not actually take the client's card and swipe it, but when we send them that invoice and they pay online, well, they are paying with a credit card, and they can challenge that payment just as easy as challenging a charge at a store, or dare I say, even easier. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. If they dispute the charge, do you know what happens? Let me tell you. The bank gives them back their money and just takes it out of your account. And if you don't have funds in that bank, they just withdraw it from the bank account the money was deposited to. And then you get a nice dispute check mark on your account. One too many of these and they just close your account and you get to start over with another bank. Sure, I know what you're thinking. I can just dispute the dispute. Well, let me tell you a little story about a PI that had this happen to him recently. They had a customer dispute a charge for thousands of dollars, simply stating the PI did not prove the allegations the client was making. So the PI sent the bank all of their supporting documents, to include the report, emails from the client thanking them for doing the work, and the contract, which had several huge disclaimers in it. One of these disclaimers stated that the PI firm did not guarantee any outcome of the investigation. Another section stated that the client could not charge back any portion of the fees paid. And another section laid out how disputes should be handled via a mediator and then court if needed. And the bank said, that's nice. Your dispute of the dispute is denied. And then they charged him additional fees for investigating the dispute of the dispute. And this is not an isolated instance. I know of other people this has happened to in recent years. But that is just the immediate financial risk the PI faces. The client could also take matters to civil court, especially if what they allege causes them harm in any way. Defamation accusations is something that is on the rise for domestic and infidelity cases. There is often just the he said, she said conflict. For instance, if the PI follows the husband into a bar, gets video of him drinking with and being flirtatious with another woman, and the report says he was saying or doing certain things that are not corroborated in the video, well, therein lies the problem. The courts are not relying on the trustworthiness of private investigators and even law enforcement as much as they used to either. And that may be rightfully so. After all, we are all human. We are all prone to mistakes, and humans do lie and stretch the truth from time to time to benefit themselves. This is why I only put in a report the minimum I need to put. I only put in the facts, never speculation, and I never go beyond what other evidence suggests, such as video, photos, or voice recordings. And then I always make sure when I get evidence through any means of technology, it is permissible, legal, ethical, and moral. You see, many people get confused with the legal versus the civil side of things. While it may be permissible and legal by law, when it comes to the civil side, they can consider ethical and moral consequences too. Not to mention the civil side outcome is often decided by the preponderance of evidence. It's not so much a black and white decision. Rather, there are many gray areas to consider. Another mistake I see PIs making is assuming they are protected by their LLC or a corporation, and this perceived protection is often far from the truth. Yes, forming an LLC gives you some protections, much like a corporation has. It has certain abilities to protect your personal assets, but it doesn't protect you in the event you're doing anything illegal. It doesn't protect you if you are purposefully negligent, and it doesn't protect you from the lawsuit being filed in most cases. I see this all the time. In fact, I would highly recommend for people who are looking to sue a small company to add the owners as separate defendants too. So the defendant list may be ABC123 Company, John Doe, Jane Doe, et al. Then if the plaintiff wins and it is never challenged, the judgment is against all three, so they can technically go after all assets. A big thing there that disqualifies an LLC from protection is if something was done illegally. And this is probably addressed in your PI licensing too. Not to mention, no evidence can be considered by a court of law if the evidence was gathered illegally. So if you record that husband's conversation at the bar with his lady friend, and your state is a two-party or all-party state when it comes to consent for audio recordings, well, you just broke the law. Not only would the evidence not be considered, it could also affect your PI license status, and the door is wide open for civil action against you because there is now proof you violated their legal rights to privacy. So what proactive protection measures can you take to shield you against these frivolous lawsuits? First, you need an ironclad contract, but you also need to understand that no contract truly is ironclad these days. You see, your contract can't include anything illegal. Another thing that many PIs are not aware of is that your contract cannot be overly burdensome or overly protective for one party. A good example is a non-disparagement clause in the contract. If you have this in your contract, and I don't, by the way, but if you have this, you have to be very careful that you are not violating fair commerce laws. So if that clause says that client cannot leave poor Google reviews, that would be illegal in most states. But I know many PIs who have that in their contract, and that, in my humble opinion, is a ticking time bomb waiting to be detonated by a disgruntled or upset client. Now, if you don't have a contract, that is even worse. Yes, a contract can be made on the back of a napkin. Which side of the napkin is the back anyway? Or they can be made with a handshake, an email, or even a text for that matter these days. It's all just a formality in how the contract is made. If you don't have a contract, I highly suggest to check out my book, Contracts for Private Investigators, Secrets No One Else Will Tell You. In my book, I walk you through step-by-step writing your own contract. I go over each section in detail and explain why it is there. Once you are done, you have a working contract. Now, I also suggest that you have an attorney or some other legal expert review it. I am not providing it as legal advice. Rather, it is a guideline to help you understand what you need in your contract. The book also has the entire contract in it, so you can just copy it. And you can also purchase a template of the contract on my website if you don't want to buy the book at howtobeapi.com. Beyond your contract, though, you must have legal protections in place for you and your company too. And we can't all have an attorney on retainer. The best thing, though, is making sure we have the right insurance in place. And all PIs should have liability and errors and omissions insurance. And the best place to get this is from our channel's sponsor, OREP Insurance. You can just go to their website, orep.org, and request a free, no obligation price quote today.